Hello Internet! So I've just got done playing Joseph 351, scenario S20 from ASLSK. If you watched my recent short, I did try and play it, but I got the rules completely wrong, so this is really my second playing of it, but the first one following the actual victory conditions. So I've slightly changed how I'm going to do this after action report, and I took some photos during the game. I'm just going to edit them together now and have a little talk through what was going on during the various turns. So this is ASL scenario S20 from starter kit number 3 tanks. This is the first scenario in that pack, and there are no AFVs involved, which I'm still learning, so it seemed like a good place to start. The basic setup of this scenario is the German forces will set up in the middle and around this hill. After they've set up, then the Allies set up with some Russian conscripts down here in the south, and then there's a die roll to see how many American and Free French forces come from the northern edge. The victory conditions for this is the Allies either have to get a certain amount of CVP based on the die roll of the American Free French forces coming on, or take control of 30 hill hexes by the end of turn 4. From turn 5 onwards, the Germans can start exiting troops off the southern edge. These will not count towards CVP, so it gives a good chance to avoid those elimination victory bonuses. So for the German setup, there are a smattering of squads, one leader, and an LMG and an MMG on the hill. This will be there to reduce any American and Free French forces that try and get onto the hill. Hopefully put a bit of pain on them and wind some time up. The remainder of the German forces are here near the southern edge, ready to make that break for the off-board, so they can't be counted for victories. The Allies setup, the conscripts, their entire purpose is to build a wall to stop the German forces from getting off the board. The die roll I made was a 6, so there will be 8 667 American elite squads and 2 536 Free French squads, represented by American counters, but without the smoke exponent. This means they've got to get 22 VP, or as I work it out, that is destroying and eliminating 78% of the German forces. That is a little bit too much of an ask, in my opinion, so their entire battle plan is going to be based on getting control of that hill for the other victory possibility. So, Allied turn 1. The American forces have come onto the map and started double timing up towards the hill. Because of the hill and the other terrain, there's been no line of sight to the Germans yet, so they're still quite safe. There's been one little broken unit over on the Russian conscript southern edge of the board. This is down to some good success for the Germans in defensive fire, but no major movement down there. They are generally staying firm. For the first German turn, they're moving their troops from those woods to deal with the conscripts, try and get as many of them out of the way as possible to make escaping the board on turn 5 as easy as possible. The units on the hill are staying in position, ready for when the Americans cross that crest line. For the second Allied turn, the Americans are starting to get onto the hill now, so you're starting to see the first bits of gunfire back and forth. Very little activity so far, one pinned unit, but they have managed to already take control of 6 hill hexes. For German turn 2, it's not going so well for their defence. Their forces on the hill are starting to be shot down and breaking, and of course we have already had a malfunction of the MMG that was there. So their firepower on the hill is greatly diminished, and the Americans are making their advance there. There is a little bit of back and forth down on the southern edge with the conscripts, but no major defence either way. The only real victory of this round is DMing a single squad of the Americans, so slightly reducing the advance, but not to any real level. On the Allied turn 3, they have fired quite well on the Germans on the hill and forced some of them to rout off, which they did successfully get to some cover. They got to those woods there, and where there were 6 hill hexes under control, thanks to the onward advance, that has been greatly increased. So it's looking very good for them to get up to 30 by the end of turn 4 at this point. Once again, the Germans have had more bad luck with their support weapons and another malfunction, and there's a little bit of a back and forth between that hill and there, but they're kind of at a stalemate there. The Germans are staying broken, and we're a bit unable to make any advance. For the third German turn, we have finally taken that little building up there, putting some real pressure on the conscripts now. There's a bit of a melee there, and building a bit of a kill stack to start picking them apart as they prepare to exit the board. Unfortunately, they have had to pull back all their forces thanks to defensive fire from the Americans. Everything there is broken except for a single leader which managed to rout with them. Onto the Allied turn 4, and the conscripts are getting picked apart, getting broken. There's an ongoing melee there, which they're trying to bolster up, but they are faltering quite badly on that edge. However, the Americans have taken a good advance and they're applying real pressure on the broken units that routed away in the previous turn. And doing so, they have managed to take every single hill hex of control on their movement, which brings them up to 40 controlled hill hexes. At this point, I've decided to call the game. I could see no way that the Germans would be able to get back onto the hill, let alone get on the hill and take control of 11 hill hexes required to bring them underneath the victory conditions. So at this point, it is all considered to be an Allied victory. Overall, it was a good game. I think the idea of having some Germans here to stop the American Free French advance was a good one, and have the remainder of the forces here to keep hold of the conscripts and get ready to exit the board early was also good. These were quite successful. They mostly stayed alive, and they could have jumped off very easily by the end of the game. But I should have put more Germans here, because when they got overrun, that was it. Game was over completely. For this scenario, really at the end of the day, because of the roll on the special chart here, the American requirement of getting 22 victory points to win by that way was just never going to happen. That means taking out almost every single German unit. So realistically, taking the 30 hill hexes was the best route to victory, and that's what they focused on. They spread out, they came from every angle, and the minute that people were broken, they were just running all over the place, trying to control everything. And it worked really well for them. They took every single hex by the end of it. So if I was the Germans, I'd bolster this area up a little bit more. It's a bit tricky, because the only real cover you've got is these woods, and where these brush counters orchards, with the hill, orchards in season, you're only going to, if the troops come up this way or this way, you're not going to see them until they're on the hill. So yeah, I enjoyed this scenario. Let me know what you think. Did you like this alternative presentation? Have you played this scenario? How did you go about it? So yeah, drop me a comment. Let me know what I should play next. Let me know if you want to see my videos slightly differently than this. But until next time, happy gaming!